What is up, Only Playbook fans? We are back for another episode. This is the best episode we've had so far because football is officially starting in 2 days. We have Thursday Night Football and opening kickoff on Thursday, which is 2 days from today when we're recording. Rams, Bills, lots to talk about, lot to unfold. I'm Sweetcar. Got Shovit. What's going on, guys? How excited are we that we've officially completed our fantasy football drafts and football is literally 48 hours away, exactly, on the nose.
I'm so excited. I'm stoked. I mean, we've been doing homework every single week, putting out content, and now it's about to, it's the game's about to start, and everything's gonna, be set in fruition from what we've been working on.
Yeah. On Instagram, I put a little. I asked the viewers. I asked them, "Do you love anything as much as I love watching football?" And I had a bunch of people reply back, and all of them were wrong because they were like, some of the answers were like, "Oh, I love to paint." I'm like, I haven't seen you paint in like 5 years. So you clearly don't love it as much, like a bunch of random answers. And it just made me realize like how much this really means to us. The people that I watch with all the time, you guys, like this is some next level shit. Like nobody's focus on one subject is as much as ours is on football from August to January. Like I have yet to meet another group of people or another person that is as devoted to football as we are. It just doesn't exist.
It's amazing. And it doesn't even feel like work. It doesn't even feel like I'm exerting any additional energy to be so focused on football. It just feels like it's like, okay, I'm just being me, loving football, loving life. So it's the best. It's probably like that for people in their professions, which I can't relate. So I'm sure there's people that just go into their like day job. That's like their passion and be like, I don't even feel like I'm working. It's just such a great time. I'm just like, wow, what's that like? So good for those people and good for us because again the football season is officially underway. Speculation season is over. Results season has begun. I'm super freaking excited. I've been roster baiting with my fantasy squad like for 2 days straight since we drafted, whenever that was. And I don't know if I'm just like on cloud 9 and it's almost like my own like ignorance, like I'm just ignorant to like the fact that other people probably have really good teams. And like, it's like it's a 10-man league, so it's not like it's crazy, but I'm probably just drinking my own Kool-Aid a little too hard early in the season. But that's the thing is no matter how good the draft goes, week 1 I could have like 4 of my players get hurt and like my season completely takes a detour.
Yeah. Like remember last year when like I'm going through the same thing you went through last year. You had 3 really good receivers and Terry McLaurin kind of just shit the bed because of the quarterback situation. Like I had Devonta Adams, Hopkins coming in week 6 and got Godwin and Michael Gallup's chilling on the bench. And I'm just looking at that and I'm like, holy shit. If I don't get 60 points from those 3 guys, it's going to be crazy. But anything could happen by then. So yeah, I mean, you got to temper your expectations, but fuck that shit. I'm going to just ride it, ride the high.
I feel like I'm going to win it all this year, guys. I'm just going out on a limb on the first episode since we drafted. I'm just saying I'm probably gonna win it this year. So. Enough of our fantasy. Go ahead, shove it. You get a last word in here before we.
I mean, I'm just excited because all this talk in week 1, you play me. So let's see how good your lineup really is on week 1 and whether or not you'll actually ride the high to week 2.
Yeah, exactly. The only good thing is 1 week's not going to make the whole season. So even if I lose and start off 0-1, it's really not going to matter as much as if I start 1-0. If I'm 1-0, I'm going to be like, this is fucking it, Super Bowl. If I'm 0-1, I'm like, guys, chill. It's only 1 week. It's only 1 week. So just going to do that classic song and dance for as long as I can. And going to enjoy every second of it. So without further ado, guys, let's jump into the episode itself with Water Cooler Talk. A couple things to note before we kick off the season. Last minute transactions. Cowboys signed 40-year-old offensive tackle Jason Peters. They desperately needed help on the offensive line. I think Tyron Smith got hurt, and I think one other guy got hurt. I can't think of his name. So a lot of depletion in the offensive line that's, for the last 5-6 years been like the best, super stable, like impenetrable, if you will. So that's a big signing for them. He is 40, so I just really don't know what he's got left, but he's also Jason Peters, so he might just be able to pull something out of his ass.
Don't forget, remember that crazy lineman situation they had a couple of years ago? It's just Martin now. It's just Martin, So I expect Zeke's numbers to go down. I expect Dak's numbers to go down. We'll see. But the offensive line plays a huge, huge role.
Yeah, no doubt about it. OJ Howard finds a new home. He signs with the Houston Texans. So I'm glad he found some work and wasn't going to have to, get a day job. But it'll be interesting because I don't know that the Texans really have a ton of competition at the skill position, specifically tight end. So I think he can come in and just kind of get to work right away. So nice target for Davis Mills. before the season kicks off. Stop me if you heard this one before. Kadarius Toney is ready to go and has a lot to prove. So super excited for what that means, because the 1 week we saw him play, he was unbelievably insane, but that's all it was. It was just a glimmer. So it'd be nice to see if him actually put together a full season of that level of football. Cause then we're talking, Kadarius Toney in an elite wide receiver level, but again, until the proof is in the pudding, it's all talk. So let's just work on staying healthy, I guess, first and foremost, and see if we can, have the numbers come after. Show it. Pittsburgh has announced their starting quarterback, and his name is Mitchell Trubisky. Trubisky is going to be QB1. I thought Kenny Pickett was QB3, but I guess that was a correction, and he's going to be QB2 is kind of what I'm hearing. But nonetheless, good for Trubisky. I feel like that's kind of what we expected heading into, like, after they'd even drafted Pickett. I think we kind of expected the draft or the depth chart to stay the way it is now. Maybe Pickett be QB2, but do you have any thoughts on this?
No, we knew that Mitch Trubisky was going to be QB1, and he was listed as captain before the depth chart even came out. So there's no way a second stringer is going to be there as captain. But we'll see. We'll see what he can do. He's been under Josh Allen, and so maybe Josh Allen has rubbed off on him a little bit, and he can bring those skills to Steelers. But if not, Kenny Pickett's going to come in and steal the show. So we'll see.
It's not every day you go into a season and you have three quarterbacks that, are basically competing, right? So it's not like a team like the team that has Tom Brady, where if Tom Brady's hurt, like, your season's fucked. It's like the drop off is so insane. With the Steelers, it's almost like anybody can get thrown out there, and it's just whoever plays the best. So it's almost like it's a worry, obviously, because your quarterback's not elite, but it's less worry because you're like, you know what? If he sucks, there's another guy. If that guy sucks, there's another guy. So a weird way to look at it, but interesting to see how long Mitchell Trubisky is actually going to be QB1. I'd be interested to see at the end of the year which quarterback starts the most games, but we'll see. Let's jump into injuries. Not a lot of injuries in terms of what I saw. I know we're recording on Tuesday, so only one game on Thursday in which injuries would be, at a little bit more relevant than Sunday. Usually we'll get injury updates like Thursday and Friday of the week, but that's what the Twitter @OnlyPlaybook is for. So make sure you follow, turn your notifications on. A couple of injuries I just want to run through for fantasy implications. Arizona wide receiver Rondale Moore is questionable week 1. Undisclosed injury. Again, me and Sho were talking about this before we started recording. It's really weird to me that there's a lot of injuries, more so than I remember, listed as undisclosed, which I thought was a rule that the NFL had to disclose it. I don't know if that's after a certain week or a certain day of the week, because this is technically Tuesday, and a lot of times it's like Wednesday's your first practice after playing on Monday. So I don't know if like that comes into play, but nonetheless, Rondale Moore questionable with Hopkins already suspended. The Kyler Murray and the Cardinals are going to need a lot of offensive firepower help on the outside. So something to watch out for. Bears wide receivers are still hurt. Tajay Sharp is listed as questionable. Velus Jones listed as questionable. Why am I bringing up random no-namers, might you ask? Well, those are the number 2 and number 3 receivers on their depth chart. So they are not going to be no-namers. So outside of Darnell Mooney, those are the guys that are going to play. So I know they signed Amir Smith-Marset. I don't know if he's going to get a lot of run right away, but those are names to watch out for because those guys should play, but they are questionable for one. Shishot, your wide receiver just sitting on your bench. Cowboys wide receiver Michael Gallup, expected to be on the IR initially. That's what kind of the concern was, but it is listed that he's going to be out week 1, but expected to return week 2. So if that is the case, like you said, you have a juggernaut at the wide receiver position with Michael Gallup arguably being your 4th wide receiver. That's kind of crazy.
Not if what you said about Kadarius Toney comes true.
Oh shit, I forgot about him too. You have 5 wide receivers that could just pop off.
But yes, the Gallup situation is a little bit overblown. There was an interview yesterday with Jerry Jones, and Jerry Jones said if he had to start, he would be able to start. There's nothing he can't really do. It's just precautionary because they don't have a wide receiver 1 per se they're dealing with. I mean, they have CeeDee Lamb, but he also has a series of history of hamstring injuries. So they're being very, very protective with the wide receivers they have, and they're kind of just going to wait out this Gallup situation until week 2. But yeah, I think they're pretty confident in him coming back week 2.
Good news for the Cowboys and you, bad news for everybody else. Green Bay wide receiver Alan Lazard, their number 1 receiver on the depth chart, supposedly is also questionable for week 1. Unsure if he'll play against the Vikings. So, a season where Aaron Rodgers basically no longer has his go-to guy. Now he's losing his, maybe outside of Randall Cobb, I guess, next most reliable target or longest tenure receiver. So that's definitely something to watch out for, depending on how good the Vikings are. We'll jump into that game as much as we can later. But for him to not start out week 1 with a receiver that he already has some chemistry with, it could spell trouble for Aaron Rodgers, but it is also Aaron Rodgers. So never know. And lastly, Tampa Bay, Tom Brady and the Buccaneers get their receiver, Russell Gage, who is expected to play week 1. So I know I think Godwin is not going to play, if I'm not mistaken.
What is
right?
this? Just like a series of talks about my wide receivers? Is this how?
Dude,
is
you
this
have
what
all
this
these
is?
guys. This is so crazy.
No, but yeah, Godwin is also in the same boat as Gallup. He got his brace off 2 days ago. That's a really good sign from an injury standpoint. As soon as the brace comes off, it's usually go time. Yeah, we'll see. This is going to be a closer to a Saturday situation. And I'm pretty sure Russell Gage is going to be great fantasy play for some reason. And he might still be a free agent in a lot of 10-man leagues. So, if Godwin isn't playing and Tom Brady's the quarterback, which is probably what's going to happen, it's a must start. Gage is a must start at that point.
Yeah. I completely agree with that. I mean, it's not every day that you haven't even played a week of football yet and you're already looking to pick up somebody and possibly start them off waiver wire. But
right.
if you're playing in like a deeper league and you drafted like you said, Godwin, or you got DeAndre Hopkins and stuff like that, and you need a guy that has some upside, again, why wouldn't you want Tom Brady's receiver? So outside of Mike Evans, there's really nobody else to throw the ball to. So Russell Gage should see plenty of targets. We'll see if he's able to actually produce that into results. That's all we got.
Correction, Mike Evans and Julio Jones.
Oh, Julio, God, dude, I'm so sorry you drafted Julio Jones. You're going to drop him within like 6 weeks, but it's okay. Build the hype up now while you can. I forgot they do have Julio Jones. You're right, but I expect Russell Gage to be more so the number 2 in Godwin's absence, but we'll see. Never know. Let's jump into the rundown. Thursday Night Football is 2 days away. We are going to kick off the season with a fucking phenomenal matchup. The Bills are going to be traveling to LA to take on the Rams. 2 high power offenses. Rams reigning Super Bowl champs. I like a lot of stuff here. Obviously, Bills are favored 2.5, over under sitting at 53. A couple of things I'm definitely watching out for. One thing, Super Bowl hangover from the Rams, right? I mean, you come back after winning a Super Bowl. It's really hard, at least what I hear from, players that interview after winning Super Bowl, to kind of build up that same sort of mojo after already winning it all, right? Because it's kind of like, what next? I know there's different breeds like Kobe and all these people that are like, championship or bust. So like you just kind of gear right back up, but you can't say that for all 53 men on the roster, right? So I'm going to be watching out to see if there's a Super Bowl hangover. I know Matthew Stafford was dealing with a little bit of a lingering elbow injury, if I'm not mistaken. So let's see if that's going to have any ramifications on his throwing early. Darrell Henderson or Cam Akers, who's going to be the guy? That's going to be what I'm watching for. Allen Robinson, new addition there. How much is he going to be a compliment to Cooper Kupp, more so than Woods and OBJ were, at least consistently? So those are the things I'm going to watch out for on the Rams. For the Bills, running back situation, I think everything else we already kind of know what we're going to get. Defense is going to be stout. You got Josh Allen, you got the receiving core. Is Gabe Davis going to take that step and be the wide receiver too? And then again, running backs. Devin Singletary's been there. He is listed as RB1, but you do have James Cook that you drafted. If he, shows early explosiveness 1 game into the season, it's not, out of the realm of question that they roll with the hot hand, because it's not like Singletary's done anything to like wow people and earn and deserve that number 1 spot. So those are the things I'm watching out for in that matchup. First game of the season. You guys got anything there?
No, but I think the Cook situation is dead on. I don't understand why they love Singletary so much. I really don't get it. There's nothing special about this man. He's an average blocker, average route runner, average rusher. So I don't get it. Maybe he's just really, really smart and he just understands everything very well. But they don't really need running backs, right? So they need more receiving running backs, and that's what Cook brings into the game. And all it takes is one play for these cookers. These cooks have a good history of catching the ball and scoring touchdowns. So, very well by week 4, by week 5, I don't see a world where Cook doesn't just take most of the rushes. All right. Next up, we have Saints at Falcons. Oh, man. Falcons, I have this year as the worst team in the league for many, many reasons.
Wow.
Yeah, I do. They're going to win.
It's just a straight shot at you.
Poor guy. But yeah, 5 wins max. I just don't see a world where they win more than 5 games. It's just, we can look at the schedule, but we're not going to do that right now. The Saints offensive line and defensive line are both elite. They're 85 Madden overall, both sides. That's pretty stingy if you ask me. And that's the bread and butter of what football is. They lost Sean Payton, they lost Drew Brees, all that stuff. But, they lost some, but they're winning a lot more too. What they have to do is they have to cover a really, really bad offense, right? Like Drake London is good, but he's hobbled. He's got knee issues. Knee issues for a big man never works out well. And then you have, Pitts, who's probably going to get double teamed. He's probably still going to get his. He's going to get 8 to 10 targets minimum. Probably going to catch 6 to 7 of those. Hopefully start scoring some touchdowns this year. But Pitts is the only reliable person that you would start at this point in the season. Maybe by week 5, week 6, we see some Patterson or Algier talks, something happening there. But until then, it's just Pitts until London gets healthy. So at this moment, it's just fire up the Saints offense. I would still be a little hesitant on starting the Saints wide receivers at least until week 3. But you start Kamara with confidence. He's got, probably the best receivers he's ever played with. There's no pressure on Kamara. There's going to be getting 50 to 70 catches this year. It's going to be easier for him to run because Winston spreads the field so much. The safeties and the linebackers have to back up a little bit. That's a lot of first down carries that Kamara is going to be falling forward, getting 5 yards, 6 yards. It's going to be a field day for Kamara. And, just keep an eye out for which receiver the Saints kind of favor in certain situations. I talked about this in the preseason. Same thing applies to a bunch of new people coming into a new setting week 1. Just see what situation brings which receiver out to do what play. So that's basically it, and then just Winston, when given time, is lethal. It's just when he's kind of stressed out, he kind of ends up throwing the ball everywhere and getting picked off and stuff. But who is rushing? Who is rushing for the Falcons? Nobody. This man's going to have time to throw. This is going to be a blowout. I think they have Saints at minus 5.5. I don't see this being a competition. Again, it's really early. You never know. Maybe there's some weird juju the Falcons bring, but this is 7 years after Mariota and Winston were drafted, number 2 and number 1. Same quarterbacks going at it in 2 completely different situations. I see this as a rampage, especially because I have Saints pretty high this year.
And you drafted Kamara number 1 overall.
I did, for this exact reason. It's just there's too much positivity, and I hear that there's really no chance. There's nothing going to court anytime soon. It's going to get dragged out. So, yeah.
Yeah, and there's a lot of good signs about Chris Olave. So hopefully that week 3 timeline, we can finally see if he'll be good this year. Next up, we've got the 49ers traveling to Chicago versus the Bears. So the line is at -7. The over-under is 41 points. So some fantasy implications for the Bears. You got Justin Fields. He's actually only in 44% of ESPN's leagues, which I think that if you would have gotten him at the 15th, 16th round, or even if you pick him up, he could be a good value guy for you this year because the ceiling is, it's pretty high for this guy. Mooney is going to be there. Montgomery, who should be the focal point of this offense. And then obviously the tight end Cole Kmet is a, arguably maybe a top 5 candidate for this year. We'll see, right? And the 49ers side, Trey Lance is going to get the start here. Should be interesting. I want to see how well he'll perform against this Bears defense. Deebo Samuel, the usual suspects, Brandon Ayuk, Elijah Mitchell is healthy and should get the start this week. And then George Kittle, obviously. So those are the fantasy guys. So the matchup I'm looking at, obviously, is Lance versus Fields. That's going to be kind of fun to see. Both guys, I think in their sophomore year, right? Lance was also drafted last year. Yeah, so sophomore year quarterbacks, which one is going to outperform? Lance obviously has a better team. And then the other matchup I'm looking at is a wide receiver 2 and wide receiver 3 for Bears. So you've got Darnell Mooney and then Byron Pringle and Equanimeous St. Brown. So those guys are all tier 4, tier 5 receivers. So it's going to be interesting to see how Justin Fields throws the ball. How does he use these targets? I think Cole Kmet and Mooney, and then outside of that, really not anyone else there. The experts are saying if you're going to take a bet here, you should take the under 41.5. Because the Bears are one of those teams like the Falcons that could be one of the worst teams in the NFL this year. And given the Trey Lance situation, you just don't know how well the 49ers are going to play right off the bat game 1, sorry. And one last thing, 49ers also have a very good defense on paper. They were ranked top 10 last year in points allowed. They signed Charvarius Ward and Mosley, who allowed 0 touchdowns. So I'm looking at a defensive game, so under 41.5 is what the smart money is going to.
Moving right along, we got the Steelers at the Bengals, week 1 divisional matchup here. Bengals reigning AFC champions with that heartbreaking loss in the Super Bowl are favored by 6.5 points here at home, over under 44. Steelers, obviously new quarterback at the helm. That's an easy one to watch for, but I'm looking out more so for Steelers trenches. Offensive line, have they gotten any better? Is there going to be more pass protection? Is there going to be more holes for Najee Harris to run out of? And defensive line, can they stop the run? are there going to be gaping holes like there were last year where, they literally could not stop anybody? So Steelers trenches are going to be very, very important to me. Obviously, you have Joe Mixon on the other side that can run the ball. And the Bengals defense is nothing special, but they're also no slouch either. So I think the Bengals are going to do the usual thing. They have a young and up and coming team, so it's not like there's anybody new to really watch out for. You're going to expect the Higgins, you're going to expect the Chase, Burrow, and Mixon, all of that good stuff. But has the offensive line gotten a little bit better to protect Joe Burrow? And is that defense improved a little bit? So I think more eyes are on the Steelers here. The Bengals, obviously, I guess I don't know if you more so have a Super Bowl hangover when you just make it and don't win, because I think that just makes you hungrier for the next year. But they're a young team and they completely overperformed last year. I know week 1 last year, we're expecting the Vikings to coast and beat them. So different perspective this year after making the Super Bowl last year. So let's see if this is a year where they can build off of last year, or this is the year that they we were expecting them to have last year, they actually end up having this year. So I guess those are the things I'm watching out for in the Steelers Bengals.
Yeah, definitely. I'm excited to see if the Steelers offensive line improved, because that's going to be the key when you have, 79 to 82 overall quarterback at the helm. That may be being a little helpful towards him.
Yeah.
Honestly, if Kirk Cousins is 80, there's no fucking way Mitch Trubisky is 79 to 82.
Oh, yeah.
I think like 75 and 76 is probably these guys are
Ceiling.
unfortunately. Yeah.
Unfortunately. Next up, we have Eagles at Lions. We got Philadelphia favored by 4, over under 48.5. Lions home underdogs, man. Last year they were 0-8 after their loss to the Eagles, who murdered them 44-6. Is there going to be some sort of revenge situation here? I'm sure they're not forgetting it. I'm sure they're remembering it. Their wide receivers have vastly improved, and their best weapons not even playing right until later in the season. Ben Johnson. Who the hell is Ben Johnson? It's the offensive coordinator for the Lions. He's going with something called an octopus method, which is, fire everything you have and use everything to its maximum point. So it's like all 8 tentacles are going to get a certain percentage and it's all going to be even. That's pretty wild for them to come out and mention something like that, because that sucks for fantasy owners, because now you're like, oh my God, I have to share. It's like you're sharing with your whole team. So the Lions offensive situation is going to be a fun one to kind of see, because I'm sure that's just Fugazi right now. And I think later on they're going to go with the hot hand, which is probably going to be Swift. But yeah, and the Eagles defense is no slouch either. Eagles defense improved tremendously from the draft, from trades. Having Bradbury as your second cornerback, are you kidding me? This team's going to be shutting out passing teams left and right. I think that's just going to be a little too much for the Lions to handle. All eyes are going to be on AJ Brown and Hurts. Is this for real? Is this, is this going to last? They both have questions on them. AJ Brown, I've seen him drop way too many passes. I've seen him get injured a lot. And Jalen Hurts, we've talked about this. Is he going to drop in fantasy points this year because he got so many rushing touchdowns last year? It's bound to regress, but let's see if AJ Brown can help him continue that success. And Swift, let's talk about Swift one last time. It's just, he's so good. He's so good. We forget how good he is because he got hurt. He was unanimous top 5 on his way to being top 2 last year before he got hurt. So if he doesn't get hurt, he's literally Kamara 2.0, faster, younger Kamara. That's scary. So, I think that's what we're looking at when it comes to this game, just kind of seeing what the Lions can do from an offensive standpoint going against a stout Eagles defense. And if I think it's not going to happen this week. I think the Eagles are probably going to win this one. It won't be as handsomely as people think, because the Lions are no slouch. But it's just not going to be enough firepower to go against this Eagles defense and this revamped Eagles offense.
My goal is to get a binge session of Hard Knocks in before the season starts on Thursday, because I haven't seen a single episode. I just want to get more on the Lions train for the season. So get me hyped up for that game by watching some Hard Knocks and some Dan Campbell crying.
Dan Campbell and what is it? Jamal Williams?
Yep.
Yeah, they're both hyped up and they're both crying. So you'll definitely get rallied listening to Jamal Williams pep talk. All right. Next up, we've got the Patriots that are traveling to Miami to face the Dolphins. Miami is favored by -3 points. The over-under is 46.5 there. Fantasy implications, I'm looking at Patriots, Stevenson versus Damian Harris. A lot of people are going with Stevenson because of his pass catching utilization. I don't know if it's ability, but just the fact that he may be there to catch the the passes that Mac Jones will throw to him versus Damian Harris, which is he's probably going to be a guy that's running in for a touchdown or that's the assumption, right? So how is it actually utilized? I'm looking at that. And then on the wide receiver side for the Patriots, is Devontae Parker going to be the guy that steps up? Really didn't have anyone from the wide receiver side last year stepping up. Kendrick Bourne or I always forget the guy's name who didn't
Jacoby Myers.
Jacoby Myers didn't catch a single touchdown till like half the end of the season. Yeah, so they didn't step up as much as they did as far as fantasy goes. So see if Devontae Parker can change the outlook there. All right, so for the Dolphins, you've got a lot of firepower. They spent a lot of money this offseason. They got Tyreek Hill, obviously Tua's there. Jalen Waddle is there, and then they have Chris Edmonds, who's a running back. So it's Chase Edmonds, right? Chase Edmonds, sorry. So Chase Edmonds and Raheem Mostert are RB1 and RB2. So I'm wondering if that will change in the course of the season. So how they utilize the running backs, I would like to see that. And the reports are their tight end Gesicki is not going to be utilized as much as far as the offense goes. So it's going to be more of a blocker. See if that's the case as well. So a lot to learn here in week 1.
I'm just gonna go ahead and say I'm calling bullshit on that Gesicki thing. We've seen what he can do, and he doesn't have the frame of a blocker. That guy's a pure receiver. I think that's just smart moves by just smart guy Mike Daniels. I think they're gonna use him quite a bit. There's literally nothing pointing towards that evidence besides gut instinct. So take it for how you want it. But that guy's too good to not give him the ball. I just don't see that happening.
Yeah, and if you are in the belief that is BS and you drafted him in the later rounds because he wasn't picked up, then you probably are going to be a happy camper in the course of this fantasy football season. But speaking of another guy, smart guy, Bill Belichick is the coach for the Patriots, as we all know. So it's going to be Bill Belichick versus a rookie coach in Mike McDaniel. But the reason that the Dolphins are favored is obviously they're at home, but Patriots cornerback situation is pretty bad. Like they lost J.C. Jackson, Malcolm Butler is out for the season. So that's one of their, I guess, Achilles heel, if you would, for the team. So it's something to look out for. And if the Patriots cornerback situation, they like to play man on man, can't be good this year, then they're going to be a terrible team. So yeah, just something to look out for. And then obviously Mac Jones and whether or not he is, he gained some weight. Let's see if he is going to be a quarterback that they've been saying in the offseason in Patriots land.
Yeah, I want to see if Bill Belichick has basically just been fogging. What is it? Yeah, smoke and mirrors. It's been all smoke and mirrors about the whole Mac. I said foggy. Like what the fuck? Smokes. Yeah, like if it's all going to
taboo brain.
Yeah, honestly. But yeah, anyways, let's jump over to the Ravens. The Ravens are going to be traveling to the Jets here in New Jersey. Ravens on the road favored by 7 points, over under 44.5. The Ravens side's interesting here to me because they still need to establish the number 1 receiver. It's implied that it's Rashad Bateman. Everybody would like for it to be Rashad Bateman. Obviously, Mark Andrews is like the number 1 target there, but we need somebody on the outside to be the number 1. So Rashad Bateman watch is definitely in full effect starting week 1. We're looking at their running back situation. There's guys, J.K. Dobbins had a lot of hope for him last year, got hurt. He's still a little bit hobbled, but he's going to go. And all their backups and their second and third string, Gus Edwards, all the other guys are also a little bit hobbled up too. So the Ravens running back situation has been very, very dicey for like the last 2 years, just with a revolving door of injuries. So let's see if Dobbins can actually maintain some stability there at least. And then obviously on the Jets side, Zach Wilson, I don't even know if he's for sure going to play. All signs are pointing to Joe Flacco starting, but they're also saying like, there is a chance he can play. So again, here comes another fog situation, smoke and mirrors. But I don't know if there's truth to that, or if Zach Wilson is actually going to be ready after getting hurt not too long ago. So that's something to watch out for. Obviously, if Zach Wilson plays, I'm interested to see these young players on the Jets step up. Breece Hall needs to come in and play well. Is he going to be a spell to Michael Carter? Is he going to win that job? Elijah Moore has a lot of promise, so we're still expecting him to kind of burst onto the scene a little bit more than he already has. So that offense just needs to be elevated as a whole and taken to another level if the Jets really want to be competitive, and their defense has to learn how to stop somebody. So it's going to be a really, really tough test with Lamar Jackson. I'm expecting him to kind of be on a revenge tour after getting hurt last year and, struggling when he was playing with the defenses kind of figuring out the anti-Lamar formula, if you will. So I think a whole offseason for Lamar he's going to come out with the firepower and the bang. So for the Jets defense to have anything to prove, it's a great week to prove it, because if you can stop running Lamar, you got some hope heading into week 2.
You know what's crazy is I have high hopes for the Ravens this year, and if they lose at the Jets the first game of the season, I'm calling it's a bad sign. I don't see it happening, but the Jets have improved. I mean, they had the best draft out of anybody. They had the best draft I've ever seen in my life. So we'll see. That'll be interesting. Next up, we have Jaguars at Commanders. This was the toughest game to decide for me. I have no idea what the hell is going to happen. If you look at every other game, it's like, I can make a case. I can make a case for this. I can make a case for that. I have no idea. I'm just going to be honest with you. I don't know what the hell's going to happen in this game. This is the first game as a Commanders name team. So maybe they have some juice to do something about that. Probably not. But yeah, out of the 1:00 game, this game is just, probably the most upset friendly. I can see a world where the Jaguars can have a case to be the better team here. They're more optimistic. They've done more for this team over the offseason. The O-line is actually not as bad as people think it is at this point. They've improved a good amount. Washington's defense is overrated. We saw what happened last year. Everybody was like, oh my God, top 5 defense. Got smoked pretty much every game. Haven't really changed much since then. And they can't run the ball. They just can't run the ball. They don't have the firepower to run the ball. They are not built to run the ball. Carson Wentz benefited from having the best running back in the league last year. What is he going to do this year? Nobody knows. So it's just, it's everything here is screaming Jaguars take a lead at halftime, and Travis Etienne has a breakout week 1. That's what I'm expecting this game. And another fun fact, the Jags did beat Wentz last year, week 18, when Wentz needed to win that game to go to the playoffs. It was the Jaguars that stopped him. So maybe Wentz has some revenge situation here, or maybe the Jags just have his number. We will see. Again, I am so sorry. I have no idea what the hell's going to happen in this game. I am not as confident in this game as I am in all the other games.
Dude, I am so excited for the Jaguars this year. I think, again, the hype around Trevor Lawrence was so real that it just was such a disservice to him with the team and the shit that was put around him last year. So I'm so excited to see him actually have a shot. And like, if he's bad after having a shot, obviously he's a bust, right? But he didn't get that true shot. And it was just so under the radar for a guy that, came into the league, possibly having the potential to be like the next Peyton Manning. So I'm excited for that for him. Obviously, we've all been kind of aboard the Travis Etienne hype train. I think James Robinson, the news came out that he may play a little bit, or he's going to play. But so I want to see kind of early on if this is Etienne's backfield with Robinson as a complementary, if they're going to start it out as kind of 50-50. But it'll be nice to see some establishment there. And again, get Trevor Lawrence a weapon that's going to stand out. I know they signed Christian Kirk. They paid him so much money, but like, he's never really stood out on any team he's been on, right? He's always just been the complimentary piece. I need somebody to be like, yo, Trevor, you're a stud. I'm going to be your number 1 guy. If it's tight end, I don't care. If it's a receiver, I don't care. If it's Etienne from the backfield, I don't care. Somebody has to help that guy out. I want the Jaguars to be good this year, or at least be competitive enough that Trevor Lawrence actually matters for us to keep an eye on. And for the Commanders, dude, whoever has Antonio Gibson, it's great that Brian Robinson shot himself. That's probably your best bet to have like a good fantasy week from Antonio Gibson, but cherish it while it lasts, because the minute Brian Robinson's healthy again, Gibson's going to go down the drain. So
some guys saw a shooting star and just made that wish, and it came true, unfortunately.
There was conspiracies that Antonio Gibson is behind all of this shooting, but I don't know.
He hired the hit. Oh my God, that'd be wild.
So that Carson Wentz, I guess, comeback or redemption game it makes sense, because one of the benefactors of that game were the Steelers, and they're the reason why they went to the playoffs that year. So I'll never forget when Jags beat the Colts last year. All right, so next up, we've got the Cleveland Browns at the Carolina Panthers. Carolina's favored by 2.5 points. The over-under is 41.5. Fantasy implications, you've got, obviously, Browns Nick Chubb, and then newly added Amari Cooper to the team. Do what you want with that information. Jacoby Brissett is the quarterback, so how well these receivers are going to be able to work with that, it will be still needs to be seen. And then Panthers, they have CMC and DJ Moore and Baker Mayfield as the quarterback. So it's going to be interesting how that offense will function with Baker Mayfield behind the center. So yeah, the matchup that we're looking at is Baker Mayfield playing against his former team in Cleveland Browns. So just like Carson Wentz's redemption game, I mean, this guy definitely has some beef with his old team that he would like to show off on. So Panthers Ben McAdoo, he decided that Baker Mayfield was the best guy for his system. The reason I point that out is just because he played for the Browns, it's a different system. So the Browns may know his tendencies, but the offense works differently. So it's not really a surefire that the Browns will be able to beat the Panthers. And I think that the home team here, Panthers are getting the advantage with the points. However, the Browns are the better team, minus Jacoby Brissett. So I think that the Browns should seal the victory here. The money line is 102 plus 102, but they're the better team. If Jacoby Brissett can play well, I think that they should take the W.
I like that. I mean, it's hard for me to say they're the better team just because, again, the drop off when you have Brissett is just so unappealing. But and the fact that Baker Mayfield is on the Panthers elevates them. It's almost like the Panthers have the opportunity to be what the Browns were last year. They should have a great defense on paper, right? They get JC Jackson back. They have great corners. They have good ends. They have good linebackers. And then they have DJ Moore, who's basically like the number one there. They have CMC, who's like Nick Chubb, but, can also run and catch. So it's like the quarterback is just a complement to the rest of the team, right? So it's almost like that's the situation. Baker went from like the exact same situation with the Browns to now the Panthers. So in my opinion, I think definitely the Panthers have more to prove, because they weren't good and they're the one that took a chance on Baker Mayfield. But with that being said, I don't hate the value at getting the Browns as moneyline dogs, getting them as underdog moneyline against a Panthers team that won 5-6 games last year. Definitely, it's not a clear shot that either one of these teams is the better team because the spread's only 2.5. So I don't hate taking the underdog moneyline week 1, especially when it's the first week of the season and you really don't know when it's this close of a toss-up.
Don't forget, one thing to note is that the Browns did lose 2 of their offensive line starters. So, and their bread and butter is running the ball up the middle. So that probably won't happen as well this year. And we'll see if that affects them this first week.
That takes us down to Houston, where the Houston Texans are hosting the Indianapolis Colts. Indianapolis Colts come in with Matt Ryan at the helm, new quarterback. And the Houston Texans come in or stay there with new tight end O.J. Howard, as we mentioned earlier. So exciting stuff for coming in the Texans land.
That's
so
sad.
No,
That's so sad that O.J. Howard, who gets cut by everybody he goes to, is like the highlight of this conversation.
No, the highlight of the conversation should definitely be Dameon Pierce. I think all eyes are on Dameon Pierce. Let's see if he can win the battle of the running backs. Really, it's not a tough competition to win if you're young. And if you have potential, more than likely you're going to be the guy because the guys that they have behind him are not young and they already kind of know what they're getting from them. So I think that's what to watch for. We talk about Brandon Cooks a lot, Shovit. He's very, very under the radar, super consistent. He's just never flashy because his team oftentimes sucks. So he's another guy that let's see if he can replicate last year where quarterback, no quarterback, everything else around the team was a shit show, but all Brandon Cooks did was produce. So let's see if he can replicate that this year. And over on the Colts side, again, Jonathan Taylor coming in from a historic season. There's pressure. Every time we talk about a guy having a historic season, chances are the percentages and the odds are that he's going to regress the next year. Even if it's a little bit, even if it's exponentially, whatever the case, he's going to regress. So I think Jonathan Taylor watch is definitely key, especially if Matt Ryan being there versus Carson Wentz being there last year is going to help Jonathan Taylor at all with the defenses, with the linebackers being a little bit forward, the safeties being up or them slightly being back. So we talk about, sorry, I just had to stop because that sound came on because my draft just started. But so Michael Pittman's there, obviously, and Alec Pierce they drafted. So there are more weapons there. I think Jonathan Taylor has the opportunity to replicate a really good season. Maybe not the exact same numbers as last year because they were just so ridiculous. But Matt Ryan being there definitely helps him. I think Matt Ryan being there makes Michael Pittman Jr. a legitimate number one. That's definitely something I'm watching out for. I want Matt Ryan to view him as he viewed Julio Jones in the past and just force feed that guy. The only way you're going to know if he's the guy or not is force feed him the ball and see what happens. So those are the things I'm watching out for in the in the Colts and Texans game. I don't know if I mentioned it, but Colts are favored on the road by 8 points over under 47.
Okay. Next up, we have Packers at the Vikings. Green Bay's favored 1.5 and over and unders at 48. Oh my God. Vikings are underdogs at home against the 3-time division champs, right? Vikings have been very positive this offseason. A lot of positivity. I don't think I have ever seen the Vikings this positive in my all my years of watching the Minnesota Vikings. Everybody just seems happy. Like every video I watch, they're just smiling. It's just something weird going on over there. However, on the other side of the field, we have the number 1 defense in the league. That's not something to be smiling about, right? This is going to be a really toss-up between two very, very identical teams in many ways. Quarterback situation, they play very similar style. One guy's won 1 Super Bowl, one guy's got no Super Bowls. It's just one Super Bowl away from being the same person, right? And head to head, it's been very close. So that's pretty similar. Receiver situations, Vikings have this in the bag. Running back situation, Vikings have this in the bag. Tight end situation, Vikings have this in the bag. Offensively, it's a much better team. However, the Minnesota Vikings defense is still hella sus. This safety situation has improved. However, the cornerback situation has not. We've tried to do many things. We've drafted a lot of cornerbacks in the last 2-3 years. Nothing has worked out. Booth is still hurt. Not sure what's going to happen there. I don't feel comfortable having new young people going against Aaron Rodgers. It's just not a good feeling. I don't care what receivers out there. I have never cared which receivers out there because it's Aaron Rodgers. It's one of those things you just close your eyes and you just accept your fate. Aaron Rodgers is going to throw touchdowns. And, I just see this game being a late game, Aaron Rodgers magic situation, just burning the Vikings one last time. We have to stop that. If this Vikings team is a new team, it's time to make it known. It's time to do something different, and that is not get burned by Aaron Rodgers. There's been some signs of that the last year. We watched this game together, and that didn't happen. Vikings ended up taking the dub. We need to see this consistently, and I think with the new regime, they've talked about limiting Dalvin Cook's plays, more touchdowns for Dalvin Cook, less touches for Dalvin Cook is what they're trying to go with. More throwing, just hella throwing is the name of the game for the Vikings offense this year. That should really work if the Packers defense can get exposed at any point. Being the number 1 defense, I'm not sure that will happen. So unfortunately, I have the Vikings losing this game at home. I hope I'm proven wrong. I hope it's a new spark I see somewhere in the team. It's just hard to see that against Aaron Rodgers with such a weak secondary still. This is going to be a fun one to watch because, it's very rare for me to be so hopeless about a game, especially when it's the first game of the season. But I've just been burned too many times with Aaron Rodgers. It's time to see something different. Show me the way, Minnesota Vikings.
I'll tell you one thing and one thing only here, guys. If the Vikings lose week 1, it's Aaron Rodgers. What were we expecting? It's already hard enough to beat him. But if the Vikings win week 1 against Aaron Rodgers, Super Bowl train's on. I'm on the hype. It's going to be very, very.
Your fantasy team's a hype. You're hype. We just all hype after week 1.
It's 1 week. I'm going to be so hyped because it's all about, you take the good and you just kind of stash away the bad, right? So if it's all good news, then I don't know. I just think maybe it means nothing. But if we beat the Packers week 1, it will add more to the fact that we've already changed the regime change, everything's changed, right? We're more positive, all this crap. I think that's going to make us believe that beating the Packers, like all of that was that reason. So I think that's what's going to build more hype. Be like, oh, maybe this is actually a different team, even though the roster is fairly similar, So I think, there's much more to let on if we win versus if we lose, in my opinion.
Think about it like this. We get it at home. At home, we have to play at Packers in the cold later in the season, right? If you lose this game, you're probably going to lose the next game. We cannot lose 2 games to your number 1 competitor. You have to take this win when it's available. So this has to be a win for the Vikings. You have to take this some way, somehow.
Especially considering the fact that we split with the Packers every year, and this is our game against them at home. So it sucks that it's week 1, but we have to win. With that being said, guys, real quickly, I have the 2nd round. I'm the 4th pick, so the 16th overall pick right now. I took Derrick Henry just now. The guy before me just took Josh Allen like an idiot. So
in the first round,
the second round, 3rd pick. So 2nd round, 4th pick. I have options here: Devontae Adams, Deebo Samuel, DeAndre Swift, CeeDee Lamb.
I mean, I go Swift. I didn't think a running back would be available at this point.
I picked up Derrick Henry early. I picked up Derrick Henry 1. Do you think I risk it with Swift with, some injury concerns, some random Lion stuff, or do I go with Devontae Adams or Deebo Samuel, who's like surefire number 1?
I like Adams here. Is it a PPR league?
Half point.
Half point, yeah, half point PPR. One running back. You solidify that with Derrick Henry, and now go get you elite receiver. Because if you don't, like, who are some receivers you would get in the
There are
next round, right?
so many receivers. There are
There's
so many receivers.
There's so many receivers. It's just hard to dude,
Yeah,
hard to pass up
Devontae Adams is impossible to. I couldn't do it. I couldn't pass it on. I could have gotten
I didn't do
Zeke.
it. I took him.
Yeah.
I took him.
Yeah. Team,
Sorry about
let me
that
just say
detour.
one thing. Let me just say one thing. Like, of all the times I've ever drafted fantasy, I've always made the mistake of going with an elite receiver early, and I always end up having this hesitation later, but I never, ever regret getting 2 stud running backs. It just doesn't happen, but it's just not as fun. It's just not as fun as having fucking Devontae Adams, the best receiver in the league on your team. It's just not as fun.
Yeah, I agree. I think with enough mock drafts that I've done, there are some rando running backs I can try to like reach for later on that'll be starters and stuff. But like you said, when you have like a number one, and this is, coming back with Derek Carr, first year with the new team, all this crap, and he's just so good. It's just hard. It's hard.
And then
Guy
don't
that
forget,
never have to change.
I don't know if DeAndre Swift is elite level just
He
quite
is.
yet.
He is.
And that's,
He is.
I don't know.
He is. But remember what we said about the draft. Remember what we said about our draft episode. Depends on who you're playing with, right? If a guy's drafting Josh Allen in the second round, you can afford to wait on running backs because there are going to be a lot more stupid plays happening here in the near future.
Yep, absolutely. Sorry about the detour. So we were talking about Vikings Packers. I think that's all we had to say on that.
Yeah, that's really it. It's just let's move on.
Yeah, well, I'll just say one last thing. The last year we went to the Packers bar to watch the Vikings and Packers play, drank a lot of sploosh, and it was really fun. As you guys are Vikings fans and going to Packer World and that bar, and you guys beat the Packers there, so that was fun. That was a good time.
Yeah.
Good Vikings. And
That was
Packers.
a memory.
Great game. Yeah.
It was a core memory.
All right, next up, we've got the New York Giants traveling to Tennessee Titans home to face off there in the first week of the season. So for the Giants, you've got Kadarius Toney, Sterling Shepard as your receivers, fantasy implications there, and then obviously Danny Dimes and Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley should have a return this year to Saquon Barkley status that we're so used to. So that's gonna be interesting to see if they utilize him better this year. With the new coach with Brian DeBall. The Titans, obviously, Derrick Henry is there, and then they just picked up Robert Woods. So whether or not Robert Woods is going to be even in the talks of fantasy, I mean, my guess is no with Tannehill as a quarterback, but we shall see if that will be the case. Some injuries to I think we already talked about Kayvon Thibodeau, right? I don't know if we did or not. Yeah, he's day-to-day there, so not sure about that. And then Harold Landry, who was a pass rusher for the Titans, still is, but he has a season-ending injury. He had 12 sacks last year. He led the team there, so it's going to be an unfortunate loss for the Titans there. But the matchup I'm looking at obviously is Brian DeBall, new coach for the Giants. Can he turn this team around? They haven't won a season opening game since 2016. It's going to be tough. And I think this is a make or break year for Daniel Jones. And but good thing is that their offensive line ranked 28th last year. They went out and got Evan Neal in the draft. So it's his debut. So hopefully that will help out some of the protection issues with the offensive line. But I don't think anything is sure in this game either. The Tennessee Titans did win the AFC South last year. However, whether or not they'll still be their elite number one is all going to depend on Tannehill and whether Henry is still as elite as everyone is saying that he is. So lots to look out for as far as what their identity is and how well they'll perform with Henry back there. So it should be an exciting game, but closer than most people are thinking.
Yeah, I just drafted King Henry, so I am big on King Henry and the Titans all of a sudden. So, no, that takes us to the Chiefs and Cardinals. The Patrick Mahomes-led Chiefs are traveling to Arizona to take on Kyler Murray and the Cardinals. Chiefs on the road favored by 4.5 points, over under 53.5. Outside weapons is kind of the name of the game here as far as what I'm watching. Chiefs receivers, Juju, Sky Moore, MVS, Mecole Hardman, those guys. And you have the Cardinals with no DeAndre Hopkins, Rondale Moore questionable. So who's going to step up there? Are one of their 3 tight ends going to step up? Are they going to go big bunch formation? What are the weapons going to look like? And so that's kind of what I'm watching for there. Totally did not mean to cut us off here, but I am drafting again real quickly. So my options here real quick: James Conner, T. Higgins, DJ Moore, Saquon Barkley, Cam Akers, Pittman, Brown, McLaurin, Chubb.
Oh my God. I mean, Pittman or Barkley, right? That value looks pretty solid at this point. I don't know.
I do like Barkley. I like Barkley
That's
there.
that running back. That
I like Barkley there. And I do also still like T. Higgins because I'm pretty high on T. Higgins and I did draft him in the last league. So I could go back to back there with those two guys. Actually, if I take Barkley, I won't get Higgins, but I think I want a second running back. So Barkley over Connor, all those Connor touchdowns.
Yeah, they're not happening again. They're just not.
With Benjamin, it's like Connor or nobody though.
Yeah, no, you got Marquise Brown. You haven't even mentioned Marquise Brown in your talks about the Chiefs and Cardinals.
That's true. That's because all he does is drop passes, so just not a lot to mention. All right, fuck it. I'm taking Barkley.
Nice. That's a solid team.
This is the last time I'm ever gonna. Saquon just scares me, but when he's good, he's really good. Just the Giants are so bad.
Yeah, just make sure you get one more running back just for security here sometime soon, and you're good to go. Even if he does bad, I'm sure these other players you're playing against are not going to think like that. So you could still stack up another good running back, I feel like.
But yeah, Chiefs Cardinals, like I said, Marquise Brown. That was the biggest thing I was talking about there before my draft interrupted itself. I apologize. Marquise Brown is going to catch a lot of balls for the Cardinals because he's basically their only receiver right now. And obviously the tight ends. So that's what I'm watching out for as the Chiefs try to establish their new receiver. Is it going to be Juju? Is it going to be Sky? Is it going to be MVS? Is it just going to be more Kelsey fest? They're going to need to have a receiver on the outside that Patrick Mahomes can rely on. So who's going to be that guy? And again, on the defensive side too. I mean, I think the Cardinals had an epic collapse last year where, both sides of the ball started to play really, really bad. And again, you're playing against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. You're going to have a defense that at least can make some stands. So the 4.5 point spread, if I'm basing that off of how bad the Cardinals looked the latter half of last year, I love the Chiefs there, but it's a brand new season. So it's really, really tough for me. Over under 53.5. If the defense are a little bit sus, maybe there's going to be a lot of scoring. So I kind of like the over. Just for week 1. But other than that, that's all I'm really watching for. Chiefs, Cardinals. Anything else you guys got there?
Next up, we have Raiders at Chargers. Chargers are favored by 3, over under 52 points. I think that's a little low. I don't know about you guys. I'm thinking the score is going to be totaled in the 60s. The Chargers are finally healthy. JC Jackson's not really healthy, but he's getting there. They're super motivated. Everybody's talking about him. They've gotten all the right pieces. It's a little tough because for me, if JC Jackson was healthy, that's a different conversation in this game. He's a little bobbled and there's a chance he won't play. This is the downside of recording on Tuesdays. I don't know what the hell is going to happen until Sunday. But we'll get better news closer to Saturday and Friday. There is a chance he might play. If he doesn't play though, that's Devontae Adams he would be guarding. And if he does play, he's hobbled against Devontae Adams. So, that favors the Raiders a little bit more than it would have if it wasn't for his situation. But yeah, overall, the Chargers are more talented on both sides of the field. They had no coaching changes. I feel like people just forget that factor. When a group of people want a singular thing and they're all united for a whole year and get to replicate that again, that's a much better situation than having random coaches come together and try to fix stuff. So they have that. They've gathered all the pieces they need to become a better team. They've had good wide receivers. They have a better offensive line now. You got Khalil Mack and Bosa coming out of two sides. Darwin just got paid. He's probably the best safety. He is the best secondary IDP player in football. It's just this team is stacked. This team is stacked on every levels. Raiders are not stacked. Raiders have a good rush system going on, but everywhere else on defense is bad. Let's just call it bad, okay? And you can't have a bad team going up against the offensive firepower like the Chiefs. I think that's going to be the Achilles here. I think they're still going to kind of expose the Chargers a little bit, and the Chargers are going to have to fix this week 2 and 3. So that's why I think it's going to be a higher scoring game. There's just not enough studs on both sides of the field for the Raiders to win this game. It's going to be a high scoring shootout. Lots of fantasy points everywhere. All the usual suspects, Eckler, Herbert, all the receivers on the Chargers. Everybody, even Brandon Jacobs might have a pretty good day if the score is going to be in the 60s. So, this is one of those games where I'm just going to close my eyes and watch the fantasy points just pop up on my screen.
I love that. I put that first comment in your back pocket where you thought the 52 is a little low on points, because we'll probably get back to that a little bit.
Nice. So the next up, we've got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Cowboys. So this is a rematch of the first game of the season last year, where the Bucs won 31-29. I think it was a field goal that won the game at the end there. So the Bucs, the Leonard Fournette was going to be the running back there. Tom Brady, Mike Evans, Julio Jones are going to be playing as receivers. I like Julio Jones this year. I think that if you drafted him, then there's been good news coming out of the training camp for Julio Jones. So hey, I think he's going to be the guy in front of Russell Gage, but we'll see. Prove me wrong. And then on the Cowboys, obviously there's Dak, Zeke, Pollard, and then CeeDee Lamb. I think CeeDee Lamb's going to have an interesting year. It's going to be like a make or break situation because first time being wide receiver 1, is he really going to be as the hype has been? So it's going to be interesting to watch that. I'll be looking out for that. So the biggest thing here, as far as this matchup is concerned, is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offensive line situation. So they lost 3 offensive linemen. One joined a new team with the Cincinnati Bengals. One of them retired, and Ryan Jensen is injured. And so it's like the trifecta of the ways you can lose a player. So Tom Brady is going around telling his offensive lineman, look, this is what they're talking shit about you. And I think that he's going to try to get his team in check. But whether or not that actually works is going to be something interesting to watch. If the offensive lineman is going to still be as good as it was last year, then, TB12 championship, Super Bowl, MVP, maybe, sky's the limit. But if not, then the Bucs have some problems. So it all boils down to the trenches. And I think now more than ever, that's what's going to be the deciding factor of this game.
Damn, I feel like the evidence is right in front of you and you just choose to be blind, huh? Losing 3 offensive linemen, that's a big deal for a quarterback that doesn't know how to move. And it is Tom Brady, but his whole life has been just perfectly placed offensive linemen, So I think I see some serious regression for this team. But, it is Tom Brady. I'm not going to doubt Tom Brady. So hopefully for your sake, he still has it in him.
Given that I drafted him, as my only quarterback on the team, it's a break for until I get somebody else on the.
I mean, this is a perfect segue to what I was going to say much earlier. Everybody that we've mentioned on our favorite players, none of us got any of those players. I find that very funny. Like DJ Moore, the value was it was better somewhere else. Sweetheart talked a lot about CeeDee Lamb. You talked a lot about somebody who else? What's his name? Quarterback for the Bears. Fields.
Justin Fields. Yeah.
We have all these players. Sweetheart didn't get Juju. A lot of these situations, it just didn't work out, and none of them worked out for us to have these players. So I found that really funny.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to reach, right? If the value is right and ADP is all correct, then let's go and get them. But if it's not, then that's just my philosophy. But you may have others.
All right, let's kick it to the final game of this first week's slate of games. Monday Night Football. Russell Wilson is going to be going home to Seattle the first week of the season. Newly signed quarterback for the Denver Broncos as they travel to Seattle. They are favored on the road by 6 points, over under 43.5. I think it's a pretty easy what to watch for. Russell Wilson saying double birds to Pete Carroll and the Seattle Seahawks and being like, look at this. My new team is new and improved, new shiny toys, new Cortland Suttons, new Jerry Duties, new Javonte Williams, all you old people. I don't want any of this. So Russell Wilson is going to be riding, in other terms. So I'm super excited about that. He's my fantasy quarterback. So I'm going to be extra hype for Russell Wilson every week this year. That's going to be what I'm watching for there. Receiving core, obviously, we want to see for fantasy perspective if Russell likes Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy. Does he have a favorite early on? Javonte Williams, is he getting 75% of the carries? Is he only getting 60% of the carries? All that matters because Javonte Williams ADP right now is pretty damn high for a guy that, may get 50, could go as low as literally 50% of the carries. So there is definitely fear there. Other than that, obviously on the other side, Seattle, I mean, who is going to be fantasy relevant for them is kind of what I'm watching for. Geno Smith's going to be the quarterback. So is he going to make DK Metcalf or Tyler Lockett playable? Or is it just going to be a Rashad Penny, if he gets hurt, Ken Walker, the third show where all they do is run the ball and play very, very conservative football? So I think that's really what I'm watching for in the final game of the season there. Or final game of the first week there. Do you guys have anything else on that?
No, shout out to the schedulers for making these redemption games. The Broncos, Seahawks. You've got Baker Mayfield against the Browns. There's a whole art and science behind it.
Oh yeah,
so shout out to them.
Oh yeah. If you get some PFF people up on this board, see how this plays out and the algorithm and which team is already favored to win the Super Bowl. This is not by choice. I mean, this is not an accident. There's something going on there.
That is it for the rundown, guys. That is absolutely it for the rundown. Let's finish the episode off with Moneymaker. I'll start us off with the one Shishot talked about. Shishot, I already had this play on this thing, and you can tell the viewers you did not see that. You did not see that before you made that comment.
No, I don't have time to look everywhere else.
One of my favorite plays this week, Raiders Chargers over 52 points. I think that game is going to be a shootout. Again, we talked about the defensive players that are out. Chargers offense should be high flying. Raiders offense with the addition of Devontae Adams, I expect a lot of points. Chargers defense was pretty shitty last year. I know they got JC Jackson and they got Khalil Mack. Is that who they got? Khalil Mack. But I don't know that two players can solve all the problems with JC Jackson, like not even going to play maybe. So I think there's going to be points to be had here. 52 seems low. I am taking the over there on the Chargers Raiders. My second pick that I love Thursday night, first game of the season. I had to get action. Bills at Rams. I am on the Bills train. Bills -2.5. I think they can win by a field goal. Rams are at home, but Super Bowl hangover, Stafford's elbow, a lot more uncertainty there than the Bills, who are hungry, who are expected to be Super Bowl champions this year. I like them to win by at least a field goal at -2.5, even though it is on the road. My final bet. I love doing one of these every week. My infamous teaser bet. I usually like to take 2 teams in a 6-point teaser, but this week I did see 3 teams to pair it up to make the 3-team teaser +150. A little bit better odds. My favorite teaser of the week, Ravens, 49ers, Broncos. All 3 teams, if you bring them down 6 points, you get the Ravens at the Jets at -1. Basically, they have to win. 49ers at the Bears at -1. Basically, they have to win. Broncos at Seahawks down to a pick 'em. So all they have to do is win. All I'm doing this week is picking better teams against 3 teams that I expect to be bottom 5 to bottom 10 this year, bringing it down to basically a pick 'em, and I expect the better team to win. So I don't hate that bet. That's going to be my third bet for moneymakers. I do like that 6-point teaser. Those are the 3 bets that I have. Have you guys seen any lines that you've been watching?
No, just that under for the Browns and what was it? Panthers. Yeah, there was under 41.5. I was looking at that and considering maybe that would be a good play, but I'm not 100% sure on it, but something to look at.
And then the Commanders getting favored against the Jaguars by 3. I don't know about that one. Not sure about that one.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot that this week tells us, since it is the first week of football. So still a ton of excitement. Side note, I am on my draft here 2 picks away. So with the pick after the one I talked to you guys about, I took Mike Williams. And with the hope that I was going to come back and get either Travis Etienne or Ezekiel Elliott, which would be super sick as my 3rd running back. But Etienne just got picked, and right after that, Zeke got picked. So I totally screwed my strategy up. And the guy right before me just took Patrick Mahomes. So that's the 2nd quarterback. So right now I have Henry Barkley, Adams Williams, right? So 2 and 2. Players on the board: Deontay Johnson, Jalen Waddle, DK Metcalf, Cortland Sutton, who I love. J.K. Dobbins, Godwin, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Mooney, Davis, Jacobs, Mitchell, Edwards-Helaire, Singletary, Sanders.
Is this where you go get Montgomery?
Montgomery's already been drafted.
Oh,
damn, dude. I hate to say this and I hate to be wrong about this, but that Godwin value is just too good. It's too good. That's a wide receiver 1 who you're getting this late. I don't know, but there's a lot of good other receivers there too.
Yeah, I'm so high on Cortland Sutton this year. He's there. I wish I could have got a third running back.
Oh man, I don't know. Tampa Bay's a pass first offense. Broncos are a run first offense.
You could go the J.K. Dobbins route and then pick up Mike Davis later on the rounds, and then so that once J.K. Dobbins is healthy, then he's going to be a good running back for you later down the stretch.
Yeah, I like Dobbins as well as the 3rd running back, but God, you're right about Godwin. Yeah, I'm gonna take Godwin.
Nice.
That's a good pick.
Call.
He's literally a wide receiver, basically 1 status when he plays. Tom Brady.
So, he is. That's 10 targets a game.
All right. So far, so good. That is all we had for the episode. Week 1 preview. Sorry for all the sidetracking. Hopefully you enjoyed it, as most of you guys, if you are listening, you're probably doing fantasy drafts either yesterday, today, tomorrow, something like that. So if you guys have any questions, anything like that, shoot them our way. Social media, we're on Twitter at Only Playbook, Instagram at The Only Playbook, TikTok at The Only Playbook. All the podcast platforms. If you're listening, if you're watching on YouTube. Thank you guys so much for all the support. We can't wait to kick off this weekend slate of games. We will be back next week to recap this week and preview next week. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Enjoy football this week. See you next time.